because I've got stuff written down and I might
But
write.
we'll do both. So I'm not being rude. It's just so I'm looking this way and this way. All right. So I'm going to try and go live right now and see if it works.
Yeah.
We have technical issues, which is the bane of
hallmark of our
hallmark of our Zoom. All right. So let me give it a go. Didn't have time to brush my beard or nothing. You know?
There's about 45, 50 people kind of stated their interest in watching this as well. And that's global. That's people around the world, you know. So cool. Yeah, it is. It's cool.
I think we're good. So give me 1 second. I'm just gonna set it up, and we'll be good to go live. Live talk with Padme, Sifu, Dave Stevens. And we're going to go live in 3, 2, 1. Go live anyway.
Cool.
Okay, give me 1 second while I just check on the Facebook group. Give it a second, it's just loading up. Yeah. And I think we are live. Yes, we're live. Okay, fantastic. So 7 p.m. on time, no technical issues. We are good.
Oh, excellent. Look at that. Let me kill the, get that going. Kill the volume. And okay. we'll watch people, get a few numbers on there, and then we'll start.
How's it settling back into the UK? I know you're working on the ship for a little while.
Yeah, I've been working on the ship for 5 months. It was interesting. It was coming back. I mean, this month would have been the month that I would have actually returned to the UK anyway, after a 7-month contract. So I'm sort of settled back in now. It's just kind of like, I wouldn't say I'm bored and not doing anything, because I actually quite enjoy actually not talking to anybody and not seeing any clients at all.
Yeah. It's a nice break.
I've never been on a cruise ship before. I've seen them in the port and some of them are huge, but do you ever feel like, oh my God, I need to get off the ship? Or are they so big that it doesn't feel, you can feel it?
It depends on the class of ship that you're on, really. The ship that I was on, if you include the crew members, there's about 1,300 crew members. Wow. And then you have another 3,500 guests on the ship.
That's huge.
So you're looking around about sort of 5,000, 6,000 people on the ship for a 2-week cruise. So it's kind of like the ship is quite big, but as the time goes on, it kind of becomes quite a small ship. So because it literally, to go from one end of the ship to the other end is literally about 3 minutes.
And
you get familiar, don't you?
Yeah.
And did you meet a lot of people that probably weren't aware of traditional Chinese medicine and acupuncture and that sort of treatment at all? Was it the first time
on the ship?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was working in the spa as a resident acupuncturist, so you get a lot of people. The British are very kind of cynical.
Yeah.
Where the Yanks, I found, are much more open-minded with regards to Chinese medicine, Chinese martial arts, etc. They're a little bit more accepting of it, and more willing to try it as well. And then you get some Americans, primarily I see a lot of Americans, a lot of Mexicans on the ship, where they're already kind of been converted to Chinese medicine. So they kind of know what the deal is, they know what to expect. They
much more open to it.
Hey?
Much more open to it.
Yeah. It's good. It's quite good fun, because I'm only going to see them for the length of the cruise. So that each cruise I was on was either a 5-day cruise or a 9-day cruise, and that would alternate every other week. So a lot of the time, a lot of the people that I would sort of see, I would only sort of see them for maybe 3-4 times throughout that entire cruise, and then they'll go home. So I'm kind of maintaining what they already have with their resident acupuncturists where they live.
Yeah. I was following your journey. It was interesting to see some of the treatments that you were doing and how within 1 or 2 treatments, you were correcting or even helping with people you were treating with pain, injuries or stuff that they were like, oh my God, I've been to so many people, or I've been to so many doctors, and after 1 or 2 sessions with you, the pain has gone or it's subsided, just through traditional Chinese
I think
techniques.
Also, a lot of that also I find, I mean, a couple of, I've got 15 years experience in Chinese medicine. So, I was very lucky in the sense of where I studied, how I studied. And when I graduated, I went to China. I done 2 internships in China, in Beijing and Nanjing.
Wow. Yeah.
So I worked in the hospitals in Beijing, in the acupuncture department. So within China, you literally, whoever walks through the door, you treat.
Yes.
And so it doesn't matter whether they are politicians to the local farmer down the road or whoever, anywhere in between of them, is they walk through the door, you treat them. And it was quite interesting when I was in Beijing. I got a lot of animosity from a lot of the locals because I'm white. And they're like, you don't know Chinese medicine. Like, well, I do, but so you had the professor of the acupuncture department there, who one particular patient did not want to be treated by me because I was white.
Okay.
And he sort of turned around and said, well, this is how it goes. You either get treated by him or you don't get treatment at all. Make your choice. And it was literally like...
you see that kind of that kind of attitude around the world with outsiders, or where people are different,
I think, it's whatever you're used to at the time, but obviously I was there to learn, and I learned. That was the biggest step that I learned over there, was like how to treat very quickly. If you want kind of like the shortcuts of treating a lot of musculoskeletal conditions, neurological sort of stuff, which is what I specialize in nowadays. So I quite enjoy that. And for me, it's playing detective all the time. So it's kind of like these kinds of symptoms. These is what your pulse says. This is what your tongue says. And I start piecing it all together, and you get a picture of it all.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay.
Right.
Let me just check what's happening on the Mantis group, and then we should just make a start, Al. So you want to okay. Oh, hey Larry. Hey Sifu Sean. Hey Keith. Hey Stephen. All right, we've got a few people. So we can give it another couple of minutes. Say we'll start at 10 past 7. We just can to join. And so we'll Alex and I will be kind of
looking at the screen,
comments, but back and forth, and when people say hello, we'll let them know. And but at the moment we've got Sean Whittaker is on at the moment.
Hi Sean.
And some of the guys are joining as well. So
Stephen as well, Stephen Wooster.
Yeah.
All right, Steve.
Hi Stephen. We'll just crack on in a minute. And
if you fancy it, I've got a gin and tonic, so if you want to be yourself.
I was going to make it.
Sundays is my day to relax after long of. Yeah, and for those that don't know, it was recently Sifu Dave's birthday, so
happy birthday.
On Mantis Group, we wish you a very happy birthday.
Thank you.
Was that 1st of May, was it?
1st of May, on Friday.
Oh, lovely.
For those that don't know, he got a butt lick. The King's birthday, and he was doing a great form with it. You were just using the bench form, right? And then just adjust.
Yeah, the Padme bench form. I just adapted and modified some of the movements.
It works so well. That's really
cool. Away. Just imagine being in a ruck with that in a bar. My God. Doesn't bear thinking about.
I'm actually in two minds. I might actually post it onto a Star Trek fan site or something just to see what they do.
I think you should. No one's ever thought of that or done it properly.
They would love it, you know. Okay, so we're at 10 past.
Let's do it.
Let's make a start.
Let's do it, and then people can catch up. All right. Yeah, we good?
Yeah, we're good.
All right. Well, let me just, we'll start the interview now. So welcome everyone on Facebook Live. And we've got an interview time now. It's Sifu Dave Stevens of Padme. He's disciple to Sifu Tang Cho Tak of the Padme White Eyebrow System. Dave is the 7th generation Sifu of traditional Padme Kung Fu. And as well as a fully qualified and insured acupuncturist and tweener medical massage practitioner. So later on, I'll ask you, Dave, if you can give us some contacts for people interested in the treatment. Maybe we'll even talk a bit about it. We already have, but we'll have a bit of a little bit of an opener on that and on the how people can contact you for the Padme training. You know, once this craziness starts, you in fact, do you have a functioning school at the moment?
Not at the moment, no. I mean, I would, if I'm teaching anybody nowadays, they'll be literally from home, so it'll be in the backyard.
Right, so private.
Yeah, it'd be private one.
Yeah, right. So people can contact you for private training, possibly. But we'll put something up afterwards as well. Yep. Okay. First question, I suppose, just to find out a bit about your history, how you got into the martial arts, and how you got into Padme. So, did you start? Have you done other martial arts before you did Padme?
Yeah, I started martial arts when I was 9 years old. My dad took me to Shotokan karate because that was pretty much the only thing that was really around, either judo or karate at the time. So I've done karate for about 3, maybe 4 years. It was kind of on and off sort of thing, because obviously I had school. Plus at the time I was doing a lot of gymnastics at the time. I was very much into doing gymnastics.
Right.
So a lot of it was like martial arts to me was just kind of just a bit of fun, really. Mainly because this is back in the days of when like you had like the VHS recorders that came out. You had the videotapes, and my dad came back with Enter the Dragon and a couple of other films, and I kind of saw that, and I was like, I kind of want to do that. Like saw Bruce Lee and doing all this stuff. I kind of wanted to get involved in that side of things. So my dad took me to Shotokan, and I quite enjoyed it. But it was, for me, I think because I was a gymnast at the time, I was so used to doing things at speed that for me, karate just seemed a tad too slow. So I was really get into it as such. And at the time, I was quite like a lanky child as well. So I had long limbs. So karate really didn't suit me at all, body-wise, physique-wise. So I went from there. I've done that for about 4 years or so. And then this is in the realms of when wushu started coming into play in London.
Yeah.
So I was doing a little bit of Hongari kind of stuff, playing around with that. And then wushu came in. I started more so wushu. And because that kind of felt more in line with the gymnastics, I was kind of more at home.
Yeah.
And this is like back in the day when wushu was actually a little bit more traditional than what it is nowadays. So I've done that for quite some time. And then I came away from I want to go back into traditional kind of styles. So I found when we was doing a little bit of the Hongar side of things with Shaolin fists at the time, every school in London, or Chinese school I should say, seemed to be training in Erdang Academy in Covent Garden.
Yeah.
You had like the Shaolin Fist, you had Victor Khan
Wing Chun
in there, you had the Padme people in there, you had Dit Nao Tonglong with Ho Kong Wah, he was in there on the top floor.
Wow.
You had every Chinese kung fu school in the Erdang Academy on a weekends.
What
So
year was
that was like the hub.
Was this around sort of the 80s or?
Yeah, this is like sort of mid 80s to late 80s, sort of. So 85 to 89 time. I mean, Erdang doesn't exist anymore. But it was like a fantastic environment for a lot of the Chinese kung fu school, because literally, obviously, Chinatown down the road,
Yeah.
Covent Garden, so it was just an easy option at the time. So from the Wushu, I went to Dik Nao Tonglong and Sean was the Dai Si Hing at the time, helping to instruct under Ho Kung Wah. So I'd done Dik Nao Tonglong for about, I think it was quite a short time. It was around about 6 months or something like that. And then for whatever reason, Ho Kung Wah decided to close his school down. I don't know why. It was just like, for whatever reason, he chose to close down. So it was literally kind of going from the Dik Nao Tonglong school upstairs. I walked down the stairs, 1 floor down, and you had the Padme people there. So I kind of like, I walked into their class. I said, "Can I? Is it okay if I sit down and have a watch of your class?" And then they all kind of looked at me like, "Yeah, sure, sit over there on the floor." And so that was the initiation into Padme. It's kind of, I sat there, and they were literally, you had all of Master Tang's top guys in this particular class at the time. Malcolm Mann, his brother, Ivor, Lawful J, Chung, and they were literally flying at each other, trying to knock 10 bells out of each other, literally. And it was just like, I was sort of sitting there thinking, at the time I was at 20 years old. I was sitting there, I was thinking, you know what? This is quite violent, quite aggressive, but I kind of strangely quite like it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't understand why, because these guys are really going for each other. They were really trying to tear chunks out of each other. And I was like, I don't know why, but I'm strangely attracted to this style, because it's just kind of, I like the energy of it. It was kind of like they had that impact to it.
Yeah.
And so I came away from that style, and it was kind of like in my head, I'm thinking, I really have to I need to go back and have a sit down and watch it again, take it in. So I didn't see if I really wanted to do it. So I went back the next week and said to Malcolm at the time, I said, like, I came in last week, you probably noticed me, I was sitting there, like, oh yeah. Goes, is it okay if I sit down one more time and watch the class? He goes, yeah, sure. I say, this is how it's going to happen. You can sit there, you can watch for the first 10 minutes. If you don't like it, fuck off. And I was like, oh, wow. So I was like, okay. And I sat there for the 10 minutes. I continued to sit there, and he goes, like, you got a choice. You can either fuck off or you can join in the class. And so at that point, I joined in the class, and I absolutely loved it. So it's kind of like, that was my initiation into Padme.
That's quite a unique introduction. I'm sure other people have had it, but you're quite lucky in that location of having that level of, near to Chinatown, having all those traditional arts to train from, and to slip from one straight into another like that, because Padme is traditionally seen as a much more closed school, and the Inox as well, much more closed systems than a lot of others, So you managed to get into that school. And then what happened from there? Did you just continue training with them?
Well, interestingly enough, like with Master Tang, because when I first started when I started learning about my side of things, I'd already had quite a lot of training from gymnastics, so I already had the flexibility, I had the strength available, and if I'm actually quite honest, I was actually more flexible and probably more physically stronger than most of the Padme students in there. Not necessarily internally stronger, but certainly like the physical conditioning side of things. So Master Tang saw something in that with me. It was like, oh, we could play with this a little bit. We could develop it maybe. So for the first 3 years, I was taught by my Dai Si Hing, Ivor, because Master Tang took a liking to me, but he didn't want to put any put too much instruction into me because I was new.
Yeah.
So he appointed Ivor, who was like my deity, him at the time, who was an absolute head case. Because I don't know if you've heard about Ivor, but Ivor was a white-haired ex-SAS guy who was one of the assistant instructors under Master Tang, who took majority of the classes. Complete head case. And he took a shine to me. Master Tang took a shine to me. And so for the first 3 years of my foundation training in Padme, it was all done by Ivor, and overseen by Master Tang. So everything like from the Hama to Jikbo, Linkyo, and Sap-Ji, the first 3 forms of Padme was imparted to me via Ivor, then Master Tang would then kind of tweak them.
Yeah. But Ivor was the senior student there as well. Your Daisy Hing, yeah?
Yeah, he was like, because Ivor was probably the 2nd generation student of Master Tang. You got the 1st generation, which would be Malcolm Mann, his brother, and you got a few of the other Turn War, and a few of the others that were sort of like the 1st generation students. Ivor came in thereafter, who was 2nd generation student. But Ivor was he was crazy. He was like he loved violence. So Padme was then right up his alley.
Yeah.
And he excelled in it because his background in special forces in the British Army and coming into civilian life and finding a style that's just as equally as aggressive as what he was just like a marriage made in heaven for him. And when I came on board and started learning, because I already had the discipline from gymnastics instilled in me, I already had that hard work ethos.
Yeah.
So it was easy for them to really push me into something and really get the best out of me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I think it's hallmark of all traditional arts is that you have to have that endurance, that repetition of just pushing through stuff that seems like meaningless and boring, but there's gains at the end of that. And a lot of people kind of maybe don't put the effort in or kind of give up because they can't see beyond. They want instant rewards.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like, even when I was in gymnastics, I retired out of gymnastics in around about 97, 98. And my gymnastic coach at the time, when I was actually competing at British level and European levels, they would always sort of say, no matter how high you go, you have to go back to the beginning. And gymnastics is kind of, it looks fantastic if you do all these backflips and somersaults and this, that, and the other sort of thing. Do the rings, you do the P-bars, or whatever the case may be. But it all centers on one particular exercise in gymnastics, and that's the handstand. The handstand is the foundation of gymnastics.
Right.
And it's the same with Padme. Padme, and probably the same. I don't know what you guys call it in Chalgar, but we call it Hama, the walking the horse.
Yeah, the Hama. Yeah, walking.
And that is the foundation, the heart and soul of Padme is to be able to walk the horse, because it has the four dynamics, control, some aspect.
Yeah.
You also have the 6 powers because you're training it to get that stopping point. So that is the main foundation of Padme. So if you don't really have an understanding of that, no matter how high you go, you can learn as many forms as you like.
Yeah.
But you won't be able to apply that principle to any of those forms or techniques.
Yeah.
Without that, it's useless.
And so there's a really, as in Dalgar with Sambo Jin, a heavy emphasis on Jikbo being the foundation that contains everything, really. Yeah.
We have, like in Padme, we got sort of 10 hand forms. 8 solar hand forms, and then 2 sparring forms from my lineage. In different lineages have different forms.
Yeah.
So a lot we have, but within all the Padme lineages, we all have what we call the core forms. So we have Jigbo, which is the heart and foundation. So you've got straight steps form. The benchmark form that everybody wants to get to at some stage is Gabor Toi.
Yeah.
You know, Gabor Toi is the lead into the internal side of things.
Right.
What actually starts to make all the techniques more dense, sort of thing.
Right.
So more dense and more alive.
Yeah.
And then you have Sapa Morkyo, which is the last core form.
Right.
One of the last original forms of Padme, which is depending upon the character that you read, it will be either 18 deadly palms or the 18 devil hands or rubbing bridges or whatever the case is.
Yeah.
It all depends on what characters they put with it.
Yeah.
And on that part with Sapa Morkyo, it's the Ganjiging, the electricity that comes through, the shock power, the shock power is what you're looking for. But it's a relentlessness in attack.
Yeah.
So
that's in Sapa Morkyo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you still have that relentlessness in Jigbo and in Gabor Toi and all the other forms, but it's more so in Sapa Morkyo is this chain of attack. It's this chasing down the opponent.
Yeah. So that's but that's all built on that foundation, as you said. Has to have the foundation, or you do that, and without the foundation, it's a bit empty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the use of the hammer, the breathing, and full jump movement.
Yeah.
Is you can sort of see when people are actually kind of using too much external power, the shoulders come up and like this, and they start breathing, but they're not actually relaxing down into it. So they're not dropping down into the stance.
Getting that heaviness.
Yeah.
Before I think for a lot of people that might not know Padme as a system overall, it'd be good to take a step back and tell us a little bit about the history of Padme. And Padme as an art. That'd be really interesting, I think.
Okay. Well, I mean, there's a link with regards to Padme. You've got what I call the pre-modern era. So the pre-modern era is basically Padme himself. Now, there's a lot of, if you want, controversy whether he actually existed or not. Nobody knows. But the folklore is that he was one of the 5 elders of Shaolin at the time during the Qing invasion, Manchu invasion, who razed the Shaolin temple to the ground, and he was one of the 5 senior elders that kind of managed to escape and go to Ermey Mountain. So from the way it's always kind of been relayed to me is that Padme went from the Shaolin temple, he went to Ermey Mountain in southwest China, and he took refuge in one of the temples. Now, Ermey Mountain is one of the sacred mountains, or one of the 5 sacred mountains, that is home to both Buddhist and Taoist religions or philosophies. So the two coexist quite happily together, sort of thing. So I'm probably so during, apparently, if at all, if he did exist and he was on the mountain at that time, he probably went, because the Manchu forces were searching for a Shaolin monk, probably hid out in a Taoist temple. Who knows? But according to a lot of literature that I've read on Padme, is that he, from that point, he combined his already extensive knowledge of Shaolin stuff, Shaolin martial arts and Shaolin philosophies, combined it with Taoism with regards to their Qigong. And he formulated a hybrid style of his own, sort of. So it's neither Buddhist nor is it Taoist, but it's somewhere in between. And he developed his own particular style of martial arts. You know, because obviously the Manchus or the Qings at the time were looking for a specific person.
Yeah.
So hiding out as a Taoist or whatever the case is, he could pretty much, you know, grow his hair around quite happily.
Yeah. It's an interesting parallel that there's a similar story with the monk Wong Fut Go in Jawaharlal taught Wong Fut Go. Wong Fut Go was, because Buddhists were being treated quite badly at the time. Apparently, he was wandering around dressed as a Taoist as well. Yeah. So it's quite an interesting parallel. And I do believe that it was that time period that the Taoists and Buddhists did share temples, and they must have shared a lot more. Their training practices, their philosophical beliefs, their understanding of the internal systems. Yep. So I do think there's a lot of that kind of went on at that time. But this is back to Padme. This is quite specifically. May was a known Taoist kind of holy site or religious philosophical site. So yeah.
And also from at the time, according to many of the literature, is that Padme only took on one disciple. He only taught one person in that. So, and that person became one of the abbots on one of the temples on Ermei Mountain called Gong Wei. So he became the second generation Padme, pre-modern era, as I call it. Yeah. Who again, because of the way they do things, again he only took on one disciple.
Wow.
Who was or one student, and taught a monk called Jukfat One, who left Ermei Mountain and then went to Guangzhou in southeast China, and took refuge in a temple called Gongshao Temple in the middle of Guangzhou. That was when Chung Lai Chun came into it, where he Jukfat One had his own disciple called Lin Sang, who would have tea in some of the tea houses in Guangzhou along by the river. This is that time when, again, you had the Manchus and the Japanese kind of at the same time, sort of thing. So there was interesting kind of collection of martial arts in the sense of regards to that, because you've got obviously a lot of the traditional side of things. And as the story goes, if you read the famous Padme book, is the H.B. Owens Gabotoy book, the small yellow book, was that Chung Lai Chun challenged Lin Sang to a friendly spar at the tea house, and he unfortunately lost the fight against 3 moves from Gabotoy. So he done Bioji punch Chung Sam Choi with Lo Hong Tu Ga Sa, and he apparently threw him across the room, hit the fish tank, burst the fish tank, and that was his
introduction.
That was his baptism.
His baptism of fire. Yeah. And he followed the young monk back to the temple. He wasn't allowed into the temple because he was a lay person at the time. So he knelt outside the temple doors for 3 days until Jukfat One came out and accepted him to learn Padme inside the temple, but he wasn't allowed to. He had to become a lay monk to be able to learn it. So
did Lin Sang, did he teach anyone else?
Nobody actually knows. This is the thing. Nobody actually knows, because after when Chung Lai Chun came out of the temple, nobody, both Jukfat One and Lin Sang seemed to disappear into history. So nobody actually knows where. My guess is he probably did. He might have gone down maybe to Fatsan, maybe. The Fatsan Padme is quite different to Padme, from Chung Lai Chun's Padme.
Yeah.
or it might have gone somewhere else, sort of thing. So, you know, it could have gone down into the Vietnam side of things.
Right. Because there are Chen Lai Chung is your lineage.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then but there are other types of Bak Mei, but there's no concrete links.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. I've looked. I can't really speak about the Fat Sam people because I don't know enough about how they got from Bak Mei to Guang Wei, because that's like the accepted lineage.
Yeah.
I can only assume that they've gone from Juk Fat 1 and it's branched off somewhere.
Yeah.
Which is why I sort of say Lin Sang might have been that person, maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard without kind of records, which they never kept over things like martial arts and stuff. Not readily anyway.
So,
yeah.
For someone that doesn't know much about Pak Mei or Hakka arts in general, but let's just say Pak Mei. If someone say, "Oh, hey, Dave, what do you do?" and you say, "I do Pak Mei," and I said, "Well, what's that?" How do you describe it?
Well, the quickest way and easiest way at the moment nowadays is if you've seen Kill Bill.
All right, yeah. By May.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of like, and then I kind of go off on a tangent on that one. So it's just the easiest way because everyone knows about me or Pai Mei from Kill Bill, sort of thing. So in some ways, like, you know, that film kind of done us a lot of favors in regards to putting the name out there.
Yeah.
But in a very kind of caricature way, kind of thing.
Course,
so
of course.
That's the quickest and easiest way I tend to do things nowadays.
If you were to describe it in terms of like a general day-to-day training, what you would expect if you're going to come in, this is what we expect you to do as a novice. What would there be expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I always look at it from like when I first started, and it was always sort of said, you know, come in, stretch out, warm up, and then just focus on your Hama. If you don't do the Hama, then it's really difficult. But the problem with Hama is it's very boring.
Yeah.
There's not a lot to there's seemingly there's not a lot to it, but there's a lot to it.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's incremental, isn't it?
Yeah.
You each step you take is not, you're not going to get sudden gains, but it's the gradual kind of the incremental gains that the stance becomes stronger. You start to feel it a bit more. You move lightly, you land heavily, and then you can't. Someone was asking about the the four dynamics in Jalda. It's the same in Padme. You can't force those. They have to naturally kind of settle in as you develop. You can't, you can't just force it. It doesn't work.
You find that also, like, obviously, when you're actually practicing the Tanto Fo Chum, you're actually practicing the internal side of things, and that can't be forced. If it's forced, then things go wrong.
Yeah.
Not just internally or physically sort of thing, but intrinsically things can go wrong because you're trying to jump through too quickly, jump over the hoops too fast.
Yeah.
The training's not been set up, and the background isn't been put in place for you to be able to actually make those leaps and bounds that you kind of want, because intrinsically the actual techniques when you're breathing in such a dynamic way, the body's not got the strength to it, so you have to build up really, really slowly.
Yeah, it's a good description of it that's kind of been used before, but it's like having a kettle that's empty and you're still trying to boil it. You're going to damage the kettle, and that's like our bodies. If you're not slowly building the internal to fill it up, you can't then heat it up and develop the chi side of things, because you're going to damage an empty vessel.
It's a lot, when people first sort of see it, when they watch, whether it's Bak Mei or whether it's Chao Ga, whether it's Wing Chun or Hong Ga, and they see the shape. They see the exterior.
Yeah.
So they don't actually see what actually has to internally happen to make that happen. To make it look not necessarily effortless, but sort of, bring it alive, to kind of bring the style alive.
Yeah, I've seen people try to replicate that physically, and it's not the same thing, but they try that, they can't get the snap out, or the motions, so they try to do it in a physical way because they haven't got the internal. It's interesting because those principles are the same whichever style, as you say. It has to be built slowly on a foundation, and then it kind of naturally develops, and then depending on your outlook, it's expressed how you would in that system.
So how did Padme come to London?
Well, Padme came. It's been in London since the late 60s, early 70s. So it's been around for quite some time in London, Chinatown in particular. My teacher came over in 1972. A young slip of a lad at the time.
Sifu Tang,
yeah. And he was given the permissions by his teacher, Zhong Bing Fa, who was the third son of Chong Lai Chun.
Wow.
To oversee Padme overseas, sort of thing. So he came to London as his representative.
Sorry, Sifu Tang, was he from Guangzhou, or was it Hong Kong, or somewhere else?
Yeah, new territories. He come from Fanling.
Yeah, okay.
My teacher was the personal disciple to Zhong Bing Fa, who, if you guys, I don't know if you guys have been to Fanling in new territories, where you have the Tang ancestral home, like Master Tang's family's ancestral home, which is a bit like if you see like the old Shaw Brothers, you got the courtyard buildings and all that sort of thing. Things like that. And basically, Chong Bing Fa used to live there, and Master Tang would then started training with Chong Bing Fa at the age of 8.
Wow.
And he would literally go to the ancestral home. He would look after him, bring him food, and he would sort of be taught with Padme. And he's only ever done Padme from when he first started at the age of 8 until he's still alive. He's still alive and kicking in Fanling. He's like 69, 70 now, so a long time. He's only ever done one style.
There you go.
That's a lot of depth.
Yeah.
in the single system, isn't it?
So he came over in 1972. He took on his first generation students, as I say, and then over a course of a period of time, he got his second and third generation. I came on board in 1990. For what I hear from all the seniors that have been before me, was that the days of the first generation and the second generation was kind of really quite grueling and quite bloody in training, in the sense that it was kind of, he really imparted the true essence of what style was all about. And then obviously as time goes by, you can't sort of be seen to be fighting all the time. There's a lot of Master Tang's first generation students and the second generation students were all fighters. They did like a good ruck in the street. And it was, for all intents and purposes, it was all good training for them, I guess.
I think it was 1990s when you started. So just in the late 80s in Chinatown. I must have had loads of fun.
I mean, I've heard loads of stories from my seniors where, the swing gates that you have at the entrance of Gerrard Street at either end. Where they would sit on top of the gate, and whoever literally walked past them and stared at them that was the invitation to start a fight. So that was quite interesting.
I think I've heard stories like that with other styles as well. initiation as well to test, you know, and people did that to test their what they'd learned.
And then the other stories I heard, like from Ivor, was one of my seniors, a Chinese guy called Lawful Jai, quite infamous in Chinatown. This is in the days. If you go to Chinatown now, you got what is called the Q bar, gay bar. There is. Yeah. That used to be called the Polar Bear back in the day.
Yeah.
And it was run by South Africans, Australians, and Kiwis. So all up for fights.
Yeah.
Especially with like rugby, when it was rugby time and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And the floor in the actual Polar Bear was all sawdust.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of fights that they used to have in there. Yeah. And Ivor was always sort of saying that there's a few times where Master Tang, Ivor, and Local Jai all go into the Polar Bear to have a drink after training, whatever the case is. And then Local Jai would walk in, and then it was quite a rowdy pub, as you could probably guess by the fact that there's, you know, sappers and Kiwis, etc. But nobody would actually come anywhere near Local Jai. The moment he walked in, he just seemed to exude this energy. He was like, "Don't come anywhere near me."
Yeah. I think some people do though, don't they? They've got that aura around them.
Yeah. What's your Sifu like? Like, what was it like training with him?
Personally, he's a lovely guy. He's very polite. He's very unassuming. He's very humble. He's very friendly. He's one of these people that I admire a lot, because he doesn't actually share his views on other styles or sort of like slag off other styles of teachers. That is like, all styles are good. And it's like, you know, it all comes down to your own understanding, your own training, and how much effort and hard work you've put into it. So from that side of it, from martial arts, he's actually quite a humble guy in the sense that, you know, he's very well known within Chinese realms. Even your teacher, Paul, he used to train under the Master Tang back in the day. He's like second generation.
Yeah. Long time ago. He was one of the second generation, wasn't he? Yeah.
And
interesting.
So that was, you know, like Master Tang told me a few stories about that. That was quite interesting. And then we have, you know, he's very well connected within Chinese. Like, it's a very small community, the Chinese martial arts side of things. And he's very well connected. Everybody knows, either knows him or has heard of him. And his background says quite a lot because of that sort of thing. He's a firm believer in traditional Chinese martial arts, you know, in the sense that the arts should be passed on unconditionally with regards to the authentic teachings. You know, he doesn't want to see Padme diluted.
Yeah.
And that's what I take on board with myself when I'm teaching. Is like, this is what I am asked to teach. You know, I won't dilute it for love nor money.
No.
But a lot of people can't handle that.
Well, they're, you know, so this is what I was saying about it before, being a much more closed system. You know, the poems say, you know, you can teach a stranger for free, but don't teach your brother even for like a sack of gold if the character's not good. And that used to be the big measure in all traditional arts. That you used to meet the Sifu, and if you know, you can't just buy your way in. You know, it's done on a much more kind of older traditional method of passing this valuable information on.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a massive learning curve as well.
Yeah. When you come from different cultures to get in there and start to learn about that. Yeah. One little question, briefly, just touching on what we've. Yasa has just asked: would Lawful Jai be Sifu Ringo? Was he Ringo?
Yeah, Ringo Low.
Yeah, Ringo Low, is that Sifu Jai? Local Jai? Same person?
No.
No.
The local Jai now is in Fanling or in Shenzhen area.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, different person, yes, sir. Good question, though. Thank you for that. We'll get on to Nick. You've got a question about weapons, but we'll get onto that in a bit.
Are there any stories that stand out for you with your training with Sifu Tang, or just generally around Sifu Tang, that kind of just, you know, a great stories that you've heard or you personally were there?
I can tell you, like, one of the stories before like, my teacher retired to go back to Hong Kong. He had his own Chinese medicine shop in Croydon, in Purley. And he would sort of say to me, this is in sort of like 97, 98 sort of time. And my teacher would sort of say, like, we'd done a lion dance at the time. I can't remember where, but we were doing some lion dance somewhere. And he said to me, at the time I was working as an engineer, as a telecoms engineer, full time. And he said to me, he goes, David, come to this shop on this day at this time. And it was like sort of Friday afternoon, 2 o'clock, 2:30 or whatever it was, something silly, something weird. I went, yeah, sure, I'm working. He goes, oh, just come to the shop at this day and this time. And I went, yeah, I'll see what I can do. And so I said to Ivor, Master Tang has invited me to go to the shop on this day and this time. He goes, do it. Pull a sickie, just do it, just go. He goes, you won't regret it, just do it. And so I pulled a sickie on that a half day and went to the shop. And Master Tang was sort of waiting for some clients to turn up with regards to treatment-wise. And he says, David, in the foyer of the shop in front of everybody that's just literally walking past, he goes, just do Gabble Toy for me. So he's like literally on the computer and he's kind of just looking at whatever he's doing on the computer. And I'm going through the form. He's like, I can't hear no power. Like, sort of like, he does like a heavier footsteps. Use your power. Like this. And he's just literally not even looking at me. He's just like looking at the computer screen. And he's like, I can't hear no power. Where's your power? Like this. And he's like, I was getting more and more frustrated by it because like, I was putting everything into it. And he's like, I can't hear nothing. Where's your power? Like, you've been doing it for X, Y, amount of years. Where's your power? Well, this guy and then his customer turned up and they went into the private room where we could do the tweener massage and that. And he goes, carry on training, don't stop. And so, okay. So carried on training, go through Gabble Toy all the time, blah, blah. And all you get was like, I can't hear no power. And I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, what the hell? Give me a rest. Like, so he finished his client, he came out, he goes, that got you going, didn't it? It's like, now you understand what you need to do.
Yeah, it's funny. That is a kind of a game changer, isn't it? Some like little idea that you get is enough sometimes to set you on that new bit of training as well.
Yeah. It's like, you know, one of the things, like, obviously we know we have all the poems and the songs that we have of style, respective styles, sort of thing. So one of the ones that he gave me was like the 10 important points of Padme, which goes through the 3 fighting shapes of Padme, which is the round, flat, and thin side of things, Tonto Fol Chum, and 6 powers, the 8 methods side of things, and then goes into the realms of Gabble Toy being the center of power. And when you become fluent in Gabble Toy, you're then ready to move on to Sabang Morkyo. Sabang Morkyo gives you more techniques, but it gives you more opportunities as well. Sort of, it's a way of moving within Sabang Morkyo. But at the end of the poem, it talks about what Master Tang would call it 5 elements. Right? It's like in the sense of that it's 5 important factors, as he would put it to me. So it was aggression, it was balance, speed, power, and body shape side of things. So with those 5 important aspects of it, is what that last part that he was trying to teach me was to get that aggression out of the technique with speed and with power and ferocity and with balance and agility.
Wow.
So that he has his own ways of drawing it out of you.
Yeah, that's quite interesting as well. The those 5 elements of the shape, the power, the speed, because they probably relate to the elements. And there's a lot of depth to a lot of this stuff that we miss. But it's all there's an interconnectedness with a lot of this stuff as well, isn't there? With stuff like the elements and then the meridians and some certain exercises developing certain parts of you. It's not just one part. Is you do the various type of exercise to build the thing in the whole. Yeah.
It is. Good.
No, carry on.
Good.
You go.
What was your initial training like throughout the years, and then how did it change when you started learning when you started, like, Sifu Tang was like, okay, now this is what I want from you, or this I'm taking over now. How did that kind of change? So what was it like initially coming up? What did you sort of do? How did you go through the techniques, the forms, and how did you grow within it? And then at what point did you feel like, okay, now it's changed?
Okay, well, I mean, as I said before, I mean, I've done first 3 years. I've done really under Ivor, my deity, him, who gave me the foundation of the style. I got invited to do the lion dance for Master Tang, mainly because I already had all the gymnastic ability as well, so it was kind of an easy lead-in really for me. So I'd done that. So that also gave me a very strong foundation in the body shape side of it. Although traditionally, Padme would do the Qigong, which is the unicorn.
Yeah.
Because we use in the shape sort of thing. Yeah. With the lion dance, you have to kind of open out a little bit more and use the elbows to come out to lock lion head.
Yeah.
But what I found, and what Master Tang was to say, like with the lion dance, it locks in the shape. You have to use your waist and your leg in order to manipulate the lion head.
Yeah.
It's the same with the unicorn sort of thing. When you come down, you use a lot of the legs and the shape of the style. So a lot of my training came also from the lion dance when I was doing that sort of thing. So I developed a lot more solidity in my body.
Yeah.
But also a lot more liveliness as well.
Interesting.
In the footwork of doing the lion dance. And one of the curious things is eye character as well when you're doing the forms and stuff. And that is like, your eyes follow the hands, sort of. So you actually bring it alive, bring in the creativeness out of you, expressing it out in front of you.
Yeah.
I got that. That was what was drilled into me, and more so with Master Tang, was that live, sort of live power instead of dead strength.
Yes.
Yes. Actually, there's a question we're going to touch on. Yeah.
So he drew that one out of me from an early part when I was learning from Sakti onwards, kind of thing. Was this live power through doing the lion dance? It's kind of because you have to kind of look.
Yeah.
So if you're doing like the shadow boxing of a lion dance, or even just doing the forms, you have to look where you're going.
Yeah.
So you're able to kind of foster that into me.
Yeah. Just bringing out intent.
Yeah. It's that imagination side of things, because he would also like when people sort of say intent or intention, it's like even like with me, it's kind of what does that mean? Kind of, you know what I mean? It's kind of like if you kind of as I was trying to say, it's kind of like it's imagination. Imagine what it is before you've even done it, before you've physically done it, what you're actually intending to do.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. So you're actually bringing it up into the eyes, and the eyes will then focus it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so towards from 96, 97, Master Tang had his full-time gun in Balam. That was quite interesting because at that point, that's when my training really kind of changed entirely, because I was helping him to teach. I was his assistant instructor. I was literally helping teach about sort of 4 or 5 days a week, including doing all the line dancing as well. So that almost became like a full-time training, really. That was quite interesting, where I would have the keys to the gun. So I'll turn up about an hour, maybe hour and a half before the class.
Yeah.
Open up the school. Then Master Tang would turn up before the class. So I would have my own training with him alone.
Oh, yeah.
And as soon as another student turned up, that training would stop, and then it would literally just carry on with the teaching. So we had to do in his full-time gun, we had obviously like sandbags and everything, so a lot of the iron palm kind of training, the arms and that. And when you see a different side, when you sort of see your teacher do things, you're like, wow. Like, my teacher never really demonstrates a great deal publicly. But when he does demonstrate, you're like, that's how it's meant to be done.
Yeah, I know that one.
Yeah. So is there a lot of emphasis on conditioning?
There is an array. It's only really the seniors in the school that will kind of be given the conditioning, and you kind of left to your own devices with that, whether you want to condition or not. I think like when I was trained by Ivor, I had it instilled in me with regards to kind of condition. So I quite enjoy that side of things. It makes no difference to me, as like I actually quite enjoy the pain.
Yeah.
And like, the sore arms, the sore legs, the sore body, and it's kind of you get up and do it the next day, and so you're still in pain.
Yeah.
I quite enjoy that. Maybe that's just me being masochistic. I don't know.
There's enough of us around. We've all got those stories of the conditioning in the early days as well, and then you gradually kind of realise there's other ways as well.
Out of interest, with the training that you're doing, so I know the emphasis is on the foundational aspects of the heart and the footwork, but then how else does typical training look like in terms of santal, in terms of hand techniques, in terms of kicks? What's a typical training look like, a typical class, and what can you expect in, say, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years?
Okay, well, I mean, depending on who's teaching, but when Master Tang was teaching and when I teach, is pretty much like one form per year. Sometimes you'll get 2 forms per year, depending on how quickly you pick up. So what you obviously do the general kind of warm up, kind of stretching kind of stuff, and then you'll go into a lot of the Hama side of things, walking forwards, sliding back, turning. The Junma, the turning stance is quite important with regards to pain and how we turn into certain positions. And then you go into typically Padme class will be a lot of Bill Choi, Bill and Punch Choi, Gokjang, the cutting palm movement, Soi Kyo, Walam, Hoiman Choi. Hoiman Choi is a back fist movement. Or a bit like your Gao Choi, really. And so you'll get we'll concentrate on what I call bread and butter techniques, sort of thing. So there's nothing too fancy. There's just literally probably a whole host of techniques that you'll probably use on average day.
Sure.
Kind of, you know, you might have five techniques that you'll just train, and then you'll go into the applications, and then you'll gradually learn the form as you go along.
Interesting. What have we got? There is a question here about you've kind of talked about concepts and principles within the system. There's conditioning. What is there? A big emphasis on two-man sensitivity drills?
Not in the sense of regards to what you guys do. You've got a lot more sensitivity drills with regards to that compared to Padme. Padme, from my lineage anyway, I can't really talk about the other lineages.
Yeah.
We're kind of, when it touches, then we move, kind of thing. So it's kind of, we try to train that kind of sensitivity that as soon as you touch, it kind of sets you into motion, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I quite like all of like what you got. We also do like the Chai Sao.
I was going to say that was my next bit. I was going to ask your, do you have a Chai Sao like the Mantis? Because I think I've seen something in Padme before.
Yeah, we do. We do have Chai Sao. We also what we call Kyo Sao as well, which is a very quick movement where you got your arm like this. You do it. So you try and be consistent with each other.
Yeah.
But there's no power. It's just literally.
Stickiness. Yeah.
So we train a lot of that. A lot of it is that kind of that instant touch kind of movement. So as soon as you touch, you move. Kind of thing. We try and foster that side of things.
Yeah, I think that's so. You don't necessarily. Would you call it a bridging system?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. So it is bridge, but it's like bridge, and that touch you try to overcome the opponent's bridge. Yeah. That's quite enlightening. It's quite interesting as well. What about the? I don't want to move on too fast, but something like the internal training.
Mm-hmm.
Is that endemic in the foundation onwards, or do you have specific internal drills, Qigong type stuff?
We just mainly focus on the Hama side of things. I don't know what you guys do with regards to your Hama, but we do one. It kind of is to build up the iron shirt on the back.
Yeah. It's all in there.
And they slap your shoulders.
Yeah.
Biceps. Then obviously the hips, down your legs, and your stomach as well.
As a testing.
Yeah. It's a testing, but also because when you're doing the thumb down movement here, the tendons around the back has to be as tight as a drum skin. So when you're actually hitting the back,
there's a different sound, isn't there?
Exactly.
It's different sound.
Like being like repelling your hands a little bit.
Yeah. We know it as basket weave, like the basket weave.
Yeah.
Basket back. Yeah.
Basket back. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like once you've got the shape, the shape is intrinsic to it all. If you've got the shape, then you can fill it with air. You can fill it with the chi, and you can step up and down the hall 100 times. And that's actually exercise. That is actually Qigong as well. People don't realise. And that starts to fill you up and develop that iron shirt. If you're told what to do, each step, squeeze the ribs. Each step, you're breathing in and you're pumping. You're getting that heaviness. You're getting that lightness as well with the moving. So it's all in there in the foundation. And a lot of people, don't grasp that. And it is funny because when you say to someone, right, walk up and down, they don't realise what you're giving them. By giving them the details and that exercise, you're giving them so much more. But they're it takes time to develop, so they don't even understand it and think, oh, it's a waste of time, like we all did,
And the thing is, like, I've had students prior to before I went on the ships, I've been training for maybe 5 years, and then at some point between that 4 or 5 years when they first started, it's always like the light bulb moment. I'd done this when I first started. It was like, well, yeah, but now your brain has just woke up.
Yeah.
Now you're ready to receive that information.
It's it's like steps, isn't it? Or that you train and train, and then you hit another step. You can do the same stuff again, but you're doing it differently.
Yeah,
it's got a totally it's got new layers to it. I find that I suppose it's going to be the same in most traditional arts, that the stuff that you do at the foundation, you can do it continuously, and you do it, and there's always new levels to it. There's always a new depth to it.
It's like an onion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Peeling off the onion skin.
Always another layer.
Yeah.
A never-ending onion, that is. There's a question here, and Nish, have you got any others on your list before I go on to these?
We can take some questions from Facebook. I mean, I've got some questions that will come as part of the kind of process,
All right, there's one before I go on to Fred's one. There was one. It was asking about other weapons the same as Jalgar, but rather than that comparison, because there are some, but what are the weapons in the system?
Well, obviously you've got to have the long pole.
Yeah.
We've got the Diapar, which is the tiger fork.
Yeah.
Guando, bench.
Yeah.
And we have the Tonfa.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
We've got the butterfly knives. So they're the main ones that we tend to use. Other lineages will have different things, because if you go to Beng Lum lineage, they would have the straight sword and the broadsword movements.
Yeah.
You find that with the Beng Phut lineage, he was very much out of the three sons. There's four sons of Chung Lai Chun. The three of the sons learned Padme. So you had Chung Beng Sum, Chung Beng Lum, and Chung Beng Phut. Chung Beng Phut was like my grandmaster. And according to my teacher, Beng Phut, out of the three sons, was the fighter. He enjoyed a fight. So he would only teach weapons that he would use in a fight, with regards to tonfas and the bench.
Yeah.
The butterfly knives and that.
Right.
He obviously had the Guando, and he had the pole as well, and things like that. So he would only kind of teach certain things that he was comfortable in teaching, that he would use himself, where his brothers would have the Geam and the broadsword, various other ones, where realistically you're not going to walk down the street with a sword. Not even in those days in Hong Kong.
They do that in South London, so.
Just watch out if you see anybody walking down South London with a bench.
It's probably Dave.
So hopefully that answers Nick's question.
How many pole forms do you have in your Padme system?
How many
pole forms?
Pole forms, two. So we've got two long pole forms. We also have a sparring two-man
sets.
Yeah. In regards to two-man sets, we've got, as I say, we've got one which is double, like two poles against each other.
Yeah.
And then we have the butterflies against unarmed, which I was like, you can leave it on.
Yeah, it's very, we have one similar in Chalgar, and we train it for the for the historical and the authenticity of the system.
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of it myself. And also within Chalgar, one of the first pole forms you learn is actually called the 5 elements.
5 element, yeah.
I know that in Padme they have a 5 elements form, or translated it's like 5 elements pole or 5 elements stick or something, right?
It's quite. We got the Daijong one, which is the big battle form, which is a form that Master Tang for me got me doing most when I was in Hong Kong. When I stayed with him in Hong Kong on top of the rooftop, because it puts in all of the Tan To Fo Chum, all of the 6 powers, to be able to get the power to the tip of the stick. So it trains all of that foundation that you've already learned. And then you have the 5 element form, which is more mobile. It's kind of more of a fighting kind of stick form kind of thing, where the Daijong Guan still able to fight with it, but it's quite can be quite a deadly form in a way if it's handled correctly. It can be quite deadly.
So apart from the buttlet, what's your favorite? What's your favorite weapon to train?
I was actually trained to specialize in the tonfa.
Wow.
Form. So that's what I specialize in. Or the sangwai, the double crutches, as they call them.
Yeah.
So every time when my master comes over, we do like sort of demonstrations. I'm either doing Gabor Toy or I'm doing the tonfa form, and that because that's what that he spent a lot of time training me in.
Wow.
And I literally, he would literally be sort of jabbing me with a spear, and I had to kind of like use the spear, which usually resulted in me running in the opposite direction because I couldn't actually get past his spear.
Yeah.
And what's your if out of the forms that you have in system, what's your favorite one to do? Like, what form is the one that you're like, I really like this one?
So you always going to see me do Gabor Toy.
Yeah.
Like, Gabor Toy is like the center of power for Padme.
Yeah.
I rarely show Sabamokyo or the Fierce Tiger form because they're kind of closed door forms. So I tend to honor my teacher in the sense of like, these are closed door forms, don't show them. I'll break them out on occasions, but not very often.
Sure.
So I usually either going to be doing Gabor Toy or I'll do the Sangwei. Okay, I quite like Salmon Choi, which is the 3-door punch set, which is interesting. It's a very laborious form. It's very it's the same thing for a long period of time, and then suddenly it just explodes in all directions.
Oh, cool!
And it's kind of it just finishes in a flurry, and then it's done, sort of thing. So it's kind of like it's quite an interesting form from that point of view because. Padme, as you probably know, the modern day Padme is amalgamation of different styles. So you have the core concept of Padme, which is obviously Jikbo, Gabor Toy, Sabamokyo. And you also have Long Yin in there, which is represented in our form Nimkyo.
Yeah, we actually have a question from Charlie. What's the relationship between Padme and Long Yin? So you're leading on to that. Okay.
Well, Zhong Lai-chun was a teacher in Long Yin. He learnt from Lan Yuguai's father. So Lan Yuguai and Zhong Lai-chun were best of friends at the time. So in Guangzhou, they opened up 18 kung fu schools together. They taught Long Yin and Padme together.
No way.
So there was quite a lot of cross training between Long Yin and Padme at that time. So that's the connection with regards to that side of it.
Oh, that's interesting. I heard something about a cousin, but was that that Chen Lai-chun had a cousin that did Dragon?
Yeah, Lam Yuguai, but they were best friends at the same time.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that'll be it. Yeah.
And then Chen Lai-chun, to honour the teachers, the memories of the teachers that he studied for previous to Padme, he took. In his head was the best forms that represented his teachers. So he took from Long Yin, we do a form called Yin Jiao Nim Kyokun, which is Eagle Claws Continuous Bridges.
Yeah.
From the Long Yin system. From the Wanderer system, or the Gypsy style.
Yeah.
He took the Sapji form, cross pattern form. The Yao Sapji Kao Dakun. So that comes from the Gypsy style. And then Salmon Choi comes from the Lee style, the Lee family style.
Yeah.
And a lot of the stick forms come from the Lee style as well, because they were more renowned for their stick fighting.
Yeah.
So he amalgamated those forms and combined the Padme principles to the forms. So he changed them slightly, modified them, adapted them, and made them Padme. And that's where we are today with regards to the list of forms that we have.
Wow. And do you see much difference between the Lung Ying form and the Li Ga form? Have you seen them side by side, or do you see much difference between them?
There is difference. I mean, in the sense that with Lung Yin, way they tend to do, they're a little bit more kind of, I would sort of say in movement, they're slightly more softer.
Yeah.
And their body shape is they tend to have a lean, they use the dragon waist, where they have a tendency to lean forward slightly.
Yeah.
Where with Padme, we tend to sit into the style, into the stance.
Yeah.
So the energy and the kinetic energy of the two systems is quite different. But the shape and the intention and the movement behind it is the same.
Wow, yeah.
Interesting, because we have a question from Fred Bland. He said Hakka art shares similar fundamentals, so like the Mantis and the dragon. And he asked, what do you think? What's your view that distinguishes Padme from Southern Mantis in its execution?
I would sort of say, I mean, from what I've seen of Juk Lam or even Zhao Ga or Dik Dao Tong Long, for instance, is that you when you're doing your forms, you come across as a bit more calmer compared to Padme. With Padme people, it's all out. It's like, I'm coming, like it ready or not, we're coming, kind of thing. There's like a madness to it with Padme.
I think one of the things I've it described to me before was that that I suppose Mantis is described as like a hard explosive power, Padme soft explosive power, and not the hard and soft. Not necessarily. It's not a value judgment. It's different expression of the force.
You have to also kind of bear in mind that with Padme, it's based the techniques and the system is based upon the fighting aspects of tiger and leopard. You have the hardness of the tiger and you have the softness and the speed of the leopard, and that is expressed in the footwork and the technique. So a lot of everything that we do in Padme, a lot is the left hand is always generally clawing. So a lot of people pay a lot of attention to their striking hand, but no real particular attention to their clawing hand, because the clawing hand is what is actually the most important part. Draw down that bridge or whatever the case is, or draw them in, push them away, whatever, for you to be able to strike.
To create the opportunities, isn't it? Yeah.
But also with Padme, because we use, as I say, it's like the tiger and leopard. So the actual leopard is all about the evasion, that short sidestep out and move in very quickly. We tend to go head on with you. We always come out to the side slightly.
That's a really fundamental, important principle within Padme. So thanks for highlighting that, because a lot of people won't have an idea about these things within the system. It's been dissected quite well, One of the going back just a bit. I mean, this is fascinating. It links with this as well, but the use of the pole, use of the weapons. Do you think that there's a fundamental benefit to continue using those weapons, say the long pole?
Yeah, I think if you're going to use a long pole, then I source my own pole. So I've got a 9.5 foot long iron wood pole.
Wow.
To an 8 foot oak pole, which is about that diameter.
Heavy.
To 7.5 foot mahogany one to beech to. So I've got different different weights, different thicknesses, different tensile strengths as well. Some more than others. And each pole brings a different level of training to it, because you have to get used to the length, to the thickness, and your training is not necessarily training it to fight with as such, but you're actually training it to build up the connective tissues. Small muscles in the wrist, like the ligament power, the tendon power.
Yes.
Because Padme is more not necessarily about muscle power or external side of it. It's the tendon strength. It's that elastic strengths that we use. So that being able to get that short, sharp movement into the wrist is more tendon than what it is muscle.
Yeah, 100%.
It's the same. I'm sure it's the same for Dragon. Definitely the same for the Mantis systems that I've come across as well.
And I think, even like with regards to a lot of the traditional weaponry that we use is obsolete in today's day and age.
Yeah, but
it brings, by training, although you're maintaining the lineage and maintaining the interest, etc., but you actually, by training the weapons, you're actually training what modern gym can't give you.
It's what is it? It's kind of specific to the art, isn't it? Of developing the powers, because you're doing it with your structure, so it's training your structure while you're doing it. So that's, that's why I wanted to ask, because I personally think there's loads of benefits to it.
I think there's got to be said for weapon training in the power training side of the system, and developing, as you said, the ligaments and developing that power. And a question came up when Alex and I were doing a talk in terms of what is your favorite weapon, and I said at the moment one of my favorite training weapons is the Tiger Fork, and the heavy Tiger Fork. Was that training, the turning, the conditioning you get from it is something else, So it's definitely, in terms of developing yourself and having solo training, using, as you said, different types of poles, using a heavy Tiger Fork, and using those traditional weighted weapons.
It's functional, isn't it? It's functional. Functional power, functional strengthening of the tendons, because the movements that you're doing.
One of the things I look at with regards to traditional weaponry is, as I said before, most of them are obsolete nowadays. In Padme, we have a sword and shield form. But obviously you're not going to walk around in the street with a sword and a shield, but you do have a rucksack, and you do have a small umbrella. So you can change and adapt forms for a more modern society. Even like with the broadsword form, or whatever the case, you've got a short stick or an umbrella, whatever they call a walking cane.
The movements are still valid, aren't they?
Exactly.
The movements and the power generation that you get from it. So check for questions. Questions there,
While you're looking at that, I've got
a go on.
Questions. So how does Padme define live power? Well, how does Padme define dead power, and then how does it define live power, and then what would you think are the main the core training to develop live power?
Quick, easy way of that one. Dead strength is really when you're using muscle strength for external leverages, kind of thing. And you'll notice that when it's dead, because when you actually step in the styles, certainly in Padme, there should be like a denseness to heaviness to the step when you step on the floor. Heels grip and the toes grip the floor. There should be like a boom sound to it. So when a person's not really training and they're just using physical strengths, there's strength there, but it exhausts very quickly. Where with live power, there's a denseness to it, but there's also this explosiveness to it. It's very short, it's very sudden, and the way I pick up on it really quickly is through isometric and plyometric training, because you have to use that short, sudden burst of energy to create that energy and then come back to your center again. So from doing gymnastics back in the day, everything was like isometric and plyometric training all the time, sort of thing. Getting the power to come when we block from the shoulder. That we've done in gymnastics. I used to get my guys doing it when I used to be teaching full time, where they were stand away from the wall, and they would put their hands up against the wall. So they're at an angle, say like sort of 60 degrees to almost like 50 degrees, 60 to 50 degree angle away from the wall. Then they come back and they stand up, and then they have to kind of fall towards the wall. As soon as their hands touch it, they push away.
Yeah.
Up to the shoulders.
Yeah.
A really good plyometric way of training that sort of that sudden power from the from isolating and the isometrics of the shoulder.
It's really interesting. I didn't know about your gymnastic background, but it's fascinating how you can take that level of training and apply it to your kung fu and the methods and the it's fantastic. Can you still do a handstand?
I can still do a handstand, yeah.
Nice.
There's the foundation of it all.
Any questions from the group, Hal, or can I move on?
Yeah, just move on. That's fine.
Okay. So I'm very interested in you kind of touched on it, but for me, I would like to dive a little bit deeper if you're able to. So you talked about some of the key methods and powers of Padme. Do you spend a little bit of time kind of slowly saying, okay, this is the first one, this is the second one, and the general kind of meaning behind them?
As you mean?
So what would you say are the main powers of Padme?
Well, I mean, a lot in poems we have, including Chalgal, we have like the 8 methods sort of thing. So you have like sock power, ripping power, tearing power, smashing power, etc. Whipping power, flicking power, etc. Wow. On the 8, what they deem as the 8 methods. The way I look at it, and the way it was kind of explained to me, was that it's the energy behind the technique. So the method of whipping is, even though when you're doing, say, like Soikyo, for instance, which is smashing bridge, a bit like your Gaucho, is you have that heavy smashing aspect where it comes, like a wave comes up.
That's right.
It's down on you.
Yeah.
Sort of it, but you can combine that with a whip movement, sort of it. So you have that the bean energy, which is a very quick stun type movement, or you can have that Soikyo energy of where you just smash into them. So you smash through their guard, or you smash into their body, or when you move it into sort of like movements of Sopsal movement, where you rip side of things. You have to kind of tearing movement. So a lot of time people are grasping, they grab and move. Where one thing that I learned when I was in Guangzhou was that there's more to grabbing than meets the eye. And it was only really when they grabbed hold of my tricep with a tiger claw. And I was like, oh, that's what the sock power is. It's like you can literally just feel like your tricep just going to be torn away from the
There's nothing that teaches you more than that contact, is it?
Yeah. And it just literally just feel the fingers go into the tricep. I'm like, okay, enough. So that's what I try. That's for me. My own journey is exploring different types of power, different types of energy with different techniques, and what I do, how I look at things nowadays. So I have the authentic side of things, but I also do what I teach a little bit more so at the moment is what I call applied Padme, which is I've kind of a couple of my students up when I was on the ship, ex-military. And I've got a couple of US military students as well. Marines. They're not going to be interested in tradition. It takes too long. And they don't really have the interest in traditional Chinese martial arts, even let alone Japanese martial arts. So for me to teach them is just literally streamlining down bread and butter techniques and then applying it in a very quick way. So that's where my focus is nowadays for my own training.
That's interesting. What would you list as your bread and butter techniques for that those sort of students? Of interest.
For those there's no punches involved.
Okay.
Certainly for regards to these guys, because they're military, they can't afford to break their hands.
Right.
So there's no techniques with regards to punching. There's all palms, there's all claws, and a lot of forearms, a lot of elbows, and a lot of shoulders. Sort of. So a lot of when we pun, where we come in with the shoulder sort of thing. So like a battering ram with the shoulder into the centre. So the great thing with them is they have no fear of fighting.
Yeah.
So
Don't get in there. Yeah.
it's interesting to see professional soldiers, if you wish, and ex-soldiers, where they understand the aggressiveness or straight away. So you don't have to build up on that.
Yeah.
Because that's already been drummed into them, and whatever they've done in the past is done in.
Probably have to calm them down.
Exactly. So for them, it's quite exciting for them to learn something new. A lot of stuff that they do, they've learned, like military aspect of Krav Maga.
Interesting. Yeah.
And there's a lot of similarities with the military side of things to how Padme and the Haka style generate power in a very short space of time. And it's quite interesting seeing the comparisons on that.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah. We've got Spencer online.
Spencer Divine.
Yeah.
Dave,
Hi, Spencer.
Dave mentioned Lee family being known for their stick plays. Did Tang Sifu ever meet my Qigong Li Xing? I know he knew my Sifu Zhou Man. Even nowadays, our stick pole forms aren't known at all.
I couldn't say he did meet him, but he probably did at some point. As I say, the Chinese martial arts community is a very small world. I only know at times if I was out and about with my master in Chinatown, he'll probably meet up with some other kung fu guys. This is like David, he's my pole guy. He'll introduce me to them, but I can never remember their names other than certain specific ones. So he probably did know him, but I couldn't confirm that or deny that one.
It's interesting that the Liga kind of being famous for their poles, because in Mantis as well, there's Duxegwan, which is they most likely could have come from Liga. I think there is a story about it was traded for Mhongwan from Lao Soi to a woman a woman Sifu in Liga, and they exchanged pole forms, and so we got Duxegwan as a result. These people, like you say, these pure martial arts. There's little bits people have learned and developed and taken what's good throughout history, and added to it.
It's basically the MMA of their time.
Yeah.
Mixed martial arts of their time.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah.
We've got a question from Stephen Worcester. Do you use wooden dummies or any other training apparatus in Padme?
We have when I was in Guangzhou, back in 2008, I was introduced to the Padme, what they call the Padme iron dummy. So basically, we have sort of like Juklam and the wooden dummy aspect of it, but they have a specific one called the iron dummy, which is basically a steel frame, like a box on the wall, and the front two poles here and the crossbar across at the bottom are turning hard rubber spindles.
Sure.
That you get from hardware stores and stuff. And what they would use, they take the spindles out and they put bamboo over the actual spindles, put the spindles back in, so that when you hit, the bamboo would turn as you grind the arm, and on the wall would be attached like a sandbag that you punch and palm and claw at the same time. So a lot of when we were sort of doing your sancing movements, that because of the bamboo would turn, you're getting that live power because it's like a person's arm, because you can't grab it at speed.
Yes.
Sort of, so kind of like you're moving, so you're getting that sensitivity training.
Wow.
Yeah.
The other one that my master had was you'll get a bike chain. It would like put between two poles or two walls, whichever, attached to the bike chain. And again, you'll put a bamboo pole around, over the or feed chain through the bamboo, and he will use a circular movement and then come down and grab. So you get this. There's a specific sound that he was looking for when you train it. So you get this high pitched noise as it goes.
Oh, right, yeah.
And as you pull down, you get that snap of the chain kind of thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
That's when you knew that you got the technique right. Is when
Yeah,
you get
that actually sounds good. Sounds good. Because and again, live training, because it gives. It's not something that's just solid and dead.
Exactly.
So, yeah, interesting. Yeah. Are there many 2-man sets? We've talked a bit about.
We've got two-man sets with regards to. So like we've got 4 in total. So we've got 2 barehanded ones. They have Samlam Deutscher, which is Samlam translates as 3 cuddles or 3 embraces.
Yeah.
And it's basically, the way I kind of interpret it is it's basically you embracing combat 3 times, sort of thing.
Right.
So, and the energy, it's kind of has a mixture of Nimkil and Sapji with elements of Gabotoy in there. It comes, you have to kind of learn Jikbo, Linkil, then Sapji, then you learn Samlam, is kind of an amalgamation of those 3 forms with a little bit of Gabotoy involved.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets you kind of having a quick flurry of fighting with each other, then you break away, you stalk each other around, and then you have another ruck with each other.
Yeah.
And you break away and you just sort of move around. So there's like 2 cats having a fight with each other. They kind of like, they circle each other all the time.
Yeah.
And then you have like a quick flurry of arms and legs.
So it's expressing the energy from those 3 forms.
Yeah.
Kind of, right. Yeah.
And then you have the second bare hand form is called Chi San, which just means sticky body. And that is the closest form, sparring wise, that you'll get with regards to, I guess, like the original Padme, because you're literally like nose to nose virtually with each other, with all the short infighting that you use, a lot of the clawing, a lot of the neck strikes, a lot of the attacks to the heart, things like that. So with that form, there's usually a lot of injuries that go with it, because it only takes one person to get pissed off being hit, or whatever the case is, and then it all goes to pot, because competition.
Half an inch makes a difference, doesn't it? When you're hitting someone, that centimetre difference of like a surface strike to penetrating.
Yeah.
It's easily done, isn't it? Especially when you've got an audience.
It's
quite, it's quite fun, but you can sort of see, again, you can see the intention in people's eyes when, there's some people say, goes hard and fast as you want, and also when you go as hard and fast as you want, they're like, oh, is it really that way? Something, kind of like, you can see the eyes change, and the fire comes up, and it's kind of like, well, it's kind of over now. So.
It's got to be controlled aggression.
Yeah,
isn't it? That's what you're aiming for. Well, some people are anyway.
Yeah.
When you if you're looking at other Padme players, what would be the form that you would look at and think, okay, I can get a measure of how long they've been training, or I can get a measure of where they are in would that be Jikbo, or would that be Sapji, or?
I always look at Jikbo, because it's always in the steps, it's always in the footwork. I don't know how it works with the Dalgar, but certainly with Padme is that the hands have to be in time with the feet. So if the feet stop before the hands, then there's no power, and it's just dead strength. that they're using. So everything has to work as a unit. So hands and feet stop together aspect. So I always look at the timing when I'm watching. I never really look at the hands. I always look at the feet. So I get more intel really from seeing how their feet move and how they stand as the most important part. Because even when I'm teaching, I always look at the feet first. The feet have always come first.
Yeah.
And the hands are always secondary.
And then the sound, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the sound is like one sound, not two.
No.
The footwork as well. Your heel first when you land. You commit aggressively forward. Yeah, mostly.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just about that intent of like we're going in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting in the sense. I mean, I've seen different Padme lineages that do it like sort of toe in heel,
Yeah.
and to me, it looks really weird. Because I'm so used to doing it the way I'm taught.
Yeah.
It
must look wrong.
Yeah. I mean, everyone's kind of taught however they're taught, but we've only really been taught when we do like the ball of the foot is really when we're turning.
Right.
So when we turn, so the heels come up and we turn, and the heels stamp down.
Yeah.
But when we move forward, the heel touches the floor and the toes grip.
Yeah.
When we slide backwards, the toes touch the floor, and then the heel hits the floor. So when I'm looking at people, I always look at that aspect of it. Certainly in Padme, in the sense of that's how it was kind of transmitted to me.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I look at to sort of see whether they actually understand what they've been taught.
Exactly. Yeah.
We just got a question from Sifu Sean Whitaker. Is there a difference in attitude in training in the UK and Hong Kong?
I would sort of say actually the training in between the two countries, I think in the UK is better. You got more dedication, more people have more interest in it. I think in Hong Kong nowadays, everything is kind of like instant gratification. So a lot of the traditional styles are sort of failing into insignificance to a degree because they can't get what they want so suddenly compared to say like Thai boxing or jiu-jitsu, something like that, where the instant gains is much more affordable from that side of it. They can see it straight away compared to doing a year of Hama or whatever the case may be before you get anywhere else. So I think the Chinese, sad as it is, I think eventually with traditional Kung Fu in Hong Kong and in China, they'll die out at some point. It'll probably go like Sandar, which is, to the point of like sort of like a Thai boxing and MMA kind of aspect of it. It's just people want a instant fix to something.
Yeah, there's fingers crossed that there's still, it's a huge country, China, and there's a lot of people in Hong Kong. Let's just hope that someone tries to keep it alive there, the old traditions. And
what was it like for your first time going to Hong Kong?
It was interesting. My first time in Hong Kong, I actually was in '91. I just started Padme in 1990, so I didn't really know anything. But I was actually on a wushu trip to Shaolin Temple at the time.
Oh, wow!
And Neil Genge, guy, he was on the same trip as well with me, and so that was quite interesting because I knew a Hong Gar form, but I knew obviously Jigbo at the time. And we were asked to do some demonstrations in front of the Shaolin monks. And all I had in my head in those days, oh shit, this is like where Padme was deemed as a traitor. I'll do the Hong Gar. So I've done the Hong Gar side of it, and then I went back to Hong Kong, and then we see a whole different side of martial arts. It's more everything that you sort of saw in films to Bruce Lee to everything else is kind of like, wow, I'm here. So I fell in love with it even more so there. I didn't know anyone from Padme in those days, really. But it was interesting. And then when 2004, 2005, when I was given my permissions to teach, that was when it all kind of changed with regards to the Padme side of things in Hong Kong for me. It was literally on Boxing Day 2004 when I came down from Beijing, Nanjing, Guangzhou into Hong Kong after doing all my Chinese medicine side of stuff. My master invited me to the Bing Fat Memorial dinner gathering, and at the time I've obviously been practicing when I was in Beijing and Nanjing, etc. And he said to I was sat down at the table, and you got all these Padme. I was the only white boy there at the time. Everybody else was Chinese, and he says, calls me over from the table. He goes, "You're going to demonstrate in front of your Sifu Gong, Chong Bing Lam, and in front of everybody." I went, "Oh, okay, cool, no worries." He goes, "What form do you want to do?" I'm like, "Oh, I'll do Sukji."
Yeah.
Goes, "Okay, cool." Because what I want you to do is go out there, do your Sukji, but I want you to fuck the form up. I was like, "Sorry?" Because I want you to fuck the form up and then come back and sit down at the table. I was like, okay, well, that's not really going to be particularly hard because I'm nervous as hell. I don't understand why you want me to fuck the form up, but anyway, okay. So I went out and into the courtyard side of it, and like I got in, and it was literally all eyes on Dave. Yeah. And I was like, oh God, someone I just want the ground to open up and swallow me now. And so I've done the form, and somewhere along the line, everyone was like looking at me. Done the form, I fucked it up. And the moment I fucked it up, they just went like this, and they carried on chatting and eating and whatnot. They had no interest in me whatsoever.
Right.
I was like, and I finished the form, bowed, sat down at the table. I was like, what the fuck was all that about? And then a couple of more other people demonstrated, and then my master got me up again. He said, come over here. He goes, what form are you going to do? I said, well, I'll do Ling Kill. He goes, okay, cool. Full speed, full power. But he didn't say fuck it up, just full speed, full power.
Nice.
Okay. And I sort of like went out into the middle of the courtyard, and they all kind of looked at me, and the moment they saw it was me, they all kind of went back to the table and started eating and chatting around the table. They didn't take a blind bit of notice of me. I'd done the form, didn't fuck it up, full speed, full power. And then towards the end of the form, they went, who is this guy? It was like, he was the one that fucked it up earlier. I mean, like, actually, that was actually really good. And I think when I spoke to my teacher, he said, like, the reason I got you to fuck it up was to get rid of your nerves. This nervous energy about you because you're doing it in front of your Sifu Gong and all of the elders and blah, blah, blah. And it's your first time. They don't know you. You don't know them. And so I want you to fuck it up so that you're more comfortable in doing your form.
It can't get any worse. It's like, it can't get any worse than this.
Yeah. And on that particular night, I must have done about 5 demonstrations of different forms.
Wow.
In front of everybody, compared to everyone else is doing like 1 form or 2 forms maybe at most. I'd done about 5 throughout the whole system. And he was like, and then I had to do another one. My last form I had to do in front of the Sifu Gong at the table. They literally just moved all the tables to one side. And then I had to do it in front of him. And then I got invited to Sifu Gong's Gun in Jim Cha Choi.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
2 days after.
In Tsim Sha Tsui?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And 2 days after that, I got invited with my teacher to go there. And I had to perform all of the forms of Padme that I knew. Various other things. There was some Sifu Gong was there with 3 of his disciples and my master as well. And that was when I was given the Baisi. I was asked to do Baisi. And that,
Wow.
with my teacher in attendance with Chongbing Lum. So from then, that kind of everything opened up with regards to Hong Kong and in China with regards to Padme.
Excellent.
It's a great story. Wow.
Yeah.
We've got
it's magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's that thing about going to.
Question on the group. Are there any forms or techniques in Padme for fighting on the floor? Desat.
Desat is more from our lineage. We don't do Desat. So we Beng Phat, Chong Beng Phat at the time didn't believe in going down to the floor. The way he always taught it is if you do go down on one knee so you can get back up as quickly as you can. So the Desat Kun form that we have, or the ground fighting form in the Beng Phat lineage, we don't actually practice. Okay. But the other lineages from Chongbing Lum, Chongbing Sam, and the other lineages from other disciples will probably practice that form.
Oh, that's excellent. That's a good question, Charlie. Yeah, it shows it's in. They do have it in Padme in other lineages. It's just you don't really highlight and practice it in yours.
No, I mean, Beng Phat, as I say, he didn't believe in going down to the floor, if at all, like sort of scrapping around on the floor. He was he instilled into my teaching, and he, as well as Ivor, it was like, if you do go to the floor, or if you get knocked down to the floor, get up as quickly as you can. Do not stay on the floor, because that's when you're going to probably die. And that's what, so usually it was drummed into me in particular, is like, if you are going to go down on one knee so you can come up just as quick.
Yeah, just get up quick. Just another one from Stephen Worcester. Do you use Dit Da Jiao after training, arm conditioning, stuff like that? Any body?
Early days, yeah. In the early days, we use Dit Da Jiao. I actually, nowadays, I don't really use it, but I use there's a herb from my acupuncture and Tuina days that we use for traumatic injury, called Sanqi.
Yeah, Sanqi.
Yeah, so just one herb.
It's quite a strong herb as well, isn't it?
Strong herb. So it comes in you can get it in powder form. That's the most expensive part of it, really.
Yeah.
You can mix it into a Dit Da if you wish, just as a single, like mix it with vodka or alcohol or spirit of some sort. Use it as a rub, same as Dit Da, or you can mix it into water or into alcohol, and you can take it internally, and that will dissolve any clots and bruising.
Yeah, very famous for breaking down stasis and blood and stuff. So it's quite strong, so people shouldn't take too much.
No, it's literally just the tip of a teaspoon, really.
Yeah, that's interesting though. Yeah, that's fun. That's quite interesting. I've got some powder.
If you get with Sanqi, if you get an open wound,
staunches the blood.
Yeah, you sprinkle the powder onto the open wound, and it clots the blood.
Yeah, really quickly. It's a good all-round kind of medicine, and gives energy as well, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you take it internally, you're actually you tend to warm up, so you know that it's
effective. Yeah.
The energy and the chi.
It's kind of what gin does to me.
But it's hard. I don't think you can't necessarily go into herbalist now and buy it. You have to be. I don't think they like to sell the root just like that. You have to have a prescription.
I mean, I can buy it because
of course you can.
Other way you can buy that has Sanqi in it is Yunnan Bai Yao.
Famous. Yeah, it's a famous blood stopper, isn't it?
Yeah. It basically does the same thing. It's just got other herbs involved in it.
Yeah.
Within your family of Padme, I assume that they have their own formulas and yeah. We've got a question from Jordan. Why is 9-step Gaboi Toi such an important form in our style? Your perspective of this topic would be great.
Well, It's the beginning of the internal. So it's as a lot of the poems sort of say, it's the center of power for Padme. So everything that you've actually built up from the foundation, from Jigbo. So you should have all the foundation, the locking, the teeth, neck, shoulders, back, waist, arms, and legs, 6 powers.
6 powers, yeah.
But also the 4 dynamics, as well as 3 fighting shapes as well. So with Galbatoi, it's brings all of that together into one particular form. So it's the gateway to the more internal aspects of Padme, where you start learning more from the stuff about Morpheus. So the energy of Galbatoi is much more denser and heavier, and it pays more attention to the stopping points as well. So there's like a kinetic value to it. So when you say, like, if you're doing like a Lo Hon Chu Ka Sa, which is the famous technique, the monk takes off his robe, moving here. So everything is like from here, you're moving up into the chest, and then you come down, up, and pull down. So you get all the tongue, toe, fold, chum movement.
Yeah.
You're exercising everything. So it's the gateway to the higher levels of it.
Yeah, I've heard that one description, which I quite like, the force of the palming is like a tidal wave. It's like the force is relentless and it's there, boom. So it's like this, but you're generating that force. It's generating through the body. Here,
it comes up from the legs and it's guided by the waist and expressed in the hands.
Yeah.
So.
It's a lovely description and an idea of what the force that you're supposed to generate, you know.
We're coming up to about 2 hours that we've been talking, so we'll probably wrap this up soon. I have a question. If you could go back and give yourself advice on training Padme, what would it be? What sort of advice would you give yourself?
Patience and perseverance, and that. I think a lot of time, certainly in the West, I think everyone wants to learn too quickly, and I think you'll get there if you're meant to get there. You'll get there. I find Padme is not a style for everybody. Just as much as other people do have styles, and sometimes you fit quite comfortably into a style. Sometimes you don't. I think if you try and force it, you try and learn too quickly, you'll miss a whole host of other things that could potentially be more harmful for you in the later run. So patience and perseverance.
Fantastic.
I think there's a depth to that patience and perseverance gives depth to what you're doing as well. Yeah.
It's like a case of never be scared to go back to the beginning again, because you'll always learn something from the beginning. That you would have missed even now. One of the advice that my teacher gave me when I was talking to him a long time ago was that when he was learning, before he was given the permissions to teach, was he learned the whole system, and he had to do the whole system in front of his teacher. But before he was given the permissions to actually teach, he had to go back and do Hama for 1 year. And then he was given the permissions to teach.
Wow.
So that kind of sort of shows that everything actually stems from the heart and soul of the style, just being like the horse.
That's fascinating. That really is. Any questions? Any more questions?
One more there from Richardson Samir.
Okay.
He said, you just quoted the Taiji classics. Do you see other similarities with Neji Kwan?
Neji, the internal sort of stuff.
Yeah.
See, I think personally, Padme is an internal art.
I do,
and it's the same as any of the. If you think of it as an external art, then you're missing a whole lot of things.
Yeah.
I think all styles are if you've been taught correctly and you've been taught effectively,
yeah,
the correct methods and the correct way of doing things, then you're practicing internal. If you're coming from if you're looking at it from an internal point of view and you're missing that side of it, then you're just practicing the shape, like a dance routine side of things, where you're not actually applying the energy, you're not applying the force, you're not applying the kinetic.
Yeah, I think the structure, the stance structure in itself lends itself to internal movement of energy, the microcosmic orbit. And I think in Jigpo, that's just happening. It might not be emphasized as much. It's the same in Jalga and Sambhaji. It may not be emphasized as much, but that thing is going on. You know, if you're doing it properly, you're generating that more and more, and you're stimulating all the internal development. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, all styles are effectively internal. If you're doing it correctly, then it's internal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lovely. The last thing, maybe what we'll do, I did talk to, now that there's probably more people, we said you're a fully qualified and insured acupuncturist and Tweenar medical massage practitioner. And we talked about maybe if people wanted to contact you in the future for treatments, what we'll do is we'll get from you some details about contact for the medical side. And also, if anybody's interested in training with you, you're doing privates, again in the future, they can, we'll get details for that as well. And we'll post them up on the page. Yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
You still see us?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. So we'll post that information of yours up. For people that may want to contact you in the future. But Dave, Sifu Dave Stevens, thank you very much. It's been enlightening. I've really enjoyed this, a lot from it.
Cool. I have one more question. What is the most common type of injuries that you treat?
Injuries with regards to martial arts or in general?
Actually, both martial arts and general.
In martial arts, it's usually sort of like tendon issues, tendonitis a lot of the time. So anything between the wrists or the elbows. A lot of martial artists I tend to see all seem to have shoulder problems for various reasons, in particular here.
Yeah.
I see that all the time, so I can actually that side of it I can sort out within 2, maybe 4 sessions quite easily. Irrespective of how long you had it for, it doesn't really matter. In general, I tend to see a lot of lower back pain, a lot of sciatica, piriformis syndrome. I seem to get lots of migraines as well. That's probably due to
interesting
stressful lives and stuff. As well as their diet as well. So it all depends on what they come in with. But generally, musculoskeletal wise, generally lower back pain, sciatica. I mean, I can treat quite a lot of stuff. It's quite easy.
Anybody got any of those things out there on Facebook world? But if you're here in the UK, based in the UK, so anybody in the UK that may want a treatment of acupuncture or Tweenar, we'll put contact details.
Of the two, because it usually works faster for people.
What's that? A combination of the two?
A combination of the two, because it works faster for people.
I think so, yeah. I've had experience of both, and I think definitely sometimes the Tweenar can shift things, and then the acupuncture energetically gets things going as well. So we'll put details up for you if you're interested, and anybody interested in taking private Padme tuition, we'll put that information. You can contact Dave and Sifu Dave Stevens and take it from there.
Cool, excellent.
It's been absolutely fantastic and enlightening for me. So I really appreciate you doing this, Dave. So
I've enjoyed it.
Brilliant.
From my side, thank you very much, Sifu Dave. Fascinating to learn about Padme. Fascinating to learn about you and your Sifu. And just get more insight into the style and really see the similarities with Southern Praying Mantis as well. I mean, there's so much. So, guys, for everyone that's watching, thank you for your time. Thank you for your questions. This will stay on here. We'll also so you can watch it for those that have come in late. You can watch from the beginning. And if you have any questions, just post them, and we'll try and get them answered. But we'll share Sifu Dave's details, so you can contact him for training Padme or for treatment within London. So thank you, and yeah, we'll see you for training.
Cheers.
Lovely. Thank you, Sifu Dave Stevens. Cheers.
We've stopped live streaming.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that was great. Thank you. Really, that was.
Yeah, no, excellent. And thank you for doing it for so long. It's like, it's a couple of hours. It just flowed.
I didn't even realise time.
Time flies when you're having fun. So
time flies when you're having fun. So I mean, that was great. And again, thank you for speaking to us and speaking to the group. And I definitely got some value from it. And it was.
Well, hopefully, yeah, when all this madness is over, we'll kind of have a little gathering.